Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm Meg Oliver. A partial verdict has been reached in the federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. After 2 days of deliberating, the jury was able to reach a verdict on 4 of the 5 charges Combs is facing, but they were unable to come to a consensus on count 1, racketeering conspiracy. The judge has instructed the jury to keep deliberating. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Joining me now is CBS News national correspondent Jericka Duncan, who has been following this trial since the beginning. Jericka, do we know anything more about why the jurors are divided?
The juror note said that there were some jurors that had unpersuadable opinions, but the judge instructed them to deliberate some more. They've only been deliberating about 12 and a half to 13 hours. Remember, they just got the jury instructions yesterday and started deliberating at about 11:30, 11:40 in the morning. So even though they cannot seem to have or find a consensus on racketeering conspiracy, which was a very complicated charge, the judge is saying, keep going, keep deliberating. The prosecution and the defense think that that is a good idea. So that's what's going to happen, even though we now know that they say they reached a verdict on those other counts. And we don't know, by the way, what the decision is, whether it's guilty, whether it's not guilty. But we do know at least they've reached a decision, a verdict on 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now it's up to the jurors to see if they can try to reach a verdict on racketeering conspiracy, the most serious charge, by the way.
So then what happens next? Are the jurors deliberating right now? How long could that continue?
They actually were sent home about 30 minutes ago, and they were told to come back here at 9 a.m. so that they can continue those conversations and deliberate.
All right, Jericka Duncan, following all of these late developments on this case, thank you so much. Joining me now is Chris Melcher, a celebrity lawyer and former sex crimes defense attorney. Chris, good to have you. First of all, explain what a partial verdict means for Combs' case from a legal standpoint.
So the jury is deadlocked, meaning cannot come to a decision on count 1, which is this racketeering charge, but has come to a decision on the other counts, which involve sex trafficking and transportation for prostitution. So if they were to render their verdict right now, he would be either guilty or not guilty on those 4 counts, and then it would be a hung jury, meaning, inconclusive result on RICO.
So can you remind our audience what that racketeering charge is, why the jury may be struggling with a unanimous decision? And that is the biggest one on the table, right?
That's right, Meg. This is really complicated. It's usually for the mafia or cartels. It requires a criminal enterprise and agreement between 2 or more people to engage in certain types of criminal conduct. And so if he was found guilty of that, it would be, potentially life in prison. But the jury is unable to reach a conclusion as of yet on that charge, but is saying it has concluded a verdict on these other charges, which to me would indicate this is really bad for Diddy, because these other charges, which they seem to be agreeing on, really would be part of this RICO charge. And to me, that indicates that they're probably more on the guilty side of things for those other charges and not on this more big collective expansive RICO case.
So Chris, how important is that charge to the prosecution's overall case?
Well, it would be potentially life in prison, but those other charges carry substantial prison sentences. There's 15-year minimum mandatory sentence for the sex trafficking convictions. He would get some time for good behavior, but it would be at least 12 or 13 years in prison for Diddy if he were convicted of those charges.
And what happens if the jury is still unable to reach a verdict on count 1 after they continue deliberating?
So the judge would take that result, discharge the jury. The prosecutor would have the right to recharge him, bring a new case for RICO. But to me, that would be really unusual, because a lot of folks had trouble really understanding how RICO could be applied to basically one person doing this depraved conduct.
All right, Chris Melcher, thank you so much for explaining all that.